Ayy, this ain't a drill. Only time I'm playing is on the field. And when I'm on the field, no, I got mad skills. And you know we bout to eat this a fast meal. Y'all gotta pay for this heat like a gas bill. We keep on coming back, so yeah, they mad still. 716, make them pay me some bad bills. Red, white, and blue like Superman, so you know we eating at the Super Bowl. Kill the competition, set up the funeral. Josh Allen catching all the shots you go for, we callin' blitz. Ready to start, we ain't calling no quits. I'm the #1 draft pick. A lot of y'all talk, but I ain't hearing it. Only listen to Keyshawn and hit talk about the Bills, dominating on the field. All our players got them skills. Buffalo don't make a kill when we talk about the Bills. Dominating on the field, and our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill.
What's going on? Welcome back to another live episode of the Post Podium Podcast, home of the all truth, no sodium takes. I am riding solo dolo today on this side of the stage. I know, I crickets over there, but I do got Dan on the ones and twos with me. We are what's going on? We are only streaming live on YouTube right now. We are testing our new setup. Hopefully, everybody can hear me and see me clearly. I mean, from here, the video quality looks a little bit better. So hopefully that's looking a little bit better to everybody at home watching this as well, or wherever you may be. Okay. Thank you, Bones. Appreciate that. So, all right, let's do this. The first thing that I really want to make clear, when it comes to my assessment of the week that has been, is I think there's an angle to what we've seen that I haven't really heard covered yet. Like, I've seen a lot of people talking about, the salary cap and how they can open up space and what the defense is going to look like and fronts and all that stuff. And a lot of that has become very clear as well. But this was a question that came to my mind probably a couple of days ago. And I guess it's hard to articulate, but I'm gonna give it a shot here, and you all bear with me, okay? We hired our head coach, and our head coach had to go through interviews, right? And there was this long, drawn-out process that we had of, nine coaching interviews, and we don't know how long they were. But Josh Allen sat in on parts of all of them. And what happened after that was we hired Joe Brady. He became our head coach. And then we started hiring a bunch of assistants. Now, based on the timing of the announcements and when these coaches showed up and just kind of piecing these things, like putting these pieces all together into the puzzle, it started to become very clear that the head coaching position is really all about making I'll say for the purpose of this conversation, in this situation here with our team, it's all about making the owner comfortable, right? Now, let's follow that thought all the way through, and let's think this process through. We didn't hear about one assistant head coach interview. We didn't hear about, Jim Leonard coming in for several interviews. We didn't hear about the Bills, interviewing several defensive coordinators to see if there was a guy they liked. It was mostly, we're looking for we're going after a guy that we really like. The Bills were reportedly connected to Jim Leonard. Then we didn't hear anything for a while, and then he was just here. And you look at Pete Carmichael. He was signed almost overnight, right after Joe Brady was hired. How much of an interview did he go through, right? And so the point I'm trying to make is a lot of these assistants, when they get hired why? Because their track record speaks for itself, or because they already have a previous relationship with the person hiring them, okay? Now, what's concerning about this, to me anyway, is there were several other and this might feel like I'm beating a dead horse once I really get to this particular portion of the point, but it's not the main point, so bear with me. If we are considering that there were several other more qualified coaches to come in and help this team get over the hump, as it was put by the owner and the GM, how is it that we ended up with Joe Brady? Now, I'm not going to go through all of the, same old thought process of, how we ended up with Joe. We know. But my point is, and the reason I'm bringing this back up is, are we certain that guys like Pete Carmichael, guys like the special teams coordinator, like, are we certain that these are the guys that are most qualified for those positions? I mean, Pete Carmichael seems like a great guy, and he seems like a guy that can, like, as he said in his presser, communicate what he knows Joe Brady wants very effectively. And he's done that with Sean Payton. He's done that pretty much his whole career. Cool. But the special teams coordinator doesn't know Joe Brady at all, right? He even said in his presser, like, he knows Beane. Like, Beane is the guy that probably, pulled some strings to get him over here. But again, no interview, none of that. Why? Because that guy's working for the head coach. And the idea of these assistants working for the head coach, no, Roy, it doesn't mean I'm about to be long-winded. It just means I'm trying to make sure that I'm navigating, that I'm articulating well enough to get to the point. You just shut up. Anyway, so back to so let me I'm not going to restart the point, but let me get back to what I was saying. So your special teams coordinator doesn't have to have an interview, and your head coach does. This is my main point. I'll just get straight to it. When you have an owner that is operating his franchise with a mindset of, I'd rather have people around me that create an atmosphere I like, as opposed to having the best guys at what they do around me. To me, that speaks to a deeper issue that, the Bills as a fan base are going to face going forward. Joe Brady was not the most qualified, but he was the most comfortable for our owner, right? Daboll would have been a comfort pick too, but we've seen Daboll do it at such a level where it's conceivable that he'd be able to get this team over the hump, right? He's been on championship teams. He's been on teams that have won championships. He may not have played the biggest role, or, in college, I think he was, when he was with Alabama, they won a natty. So he's been a part of teams that have done that. Some of the other candidates that were here that were, being talked about, I mean, Udinski wouldn't have been, one of those guys. I don't think that would have been a great hire anyway. I don't think a first-year head coach in general would is a great hire for this team. I just don't. But the second thing that speaks to is, and Sal has kind of colored this in a specific way that makes it sound great, which is things need to revolve around your quarterback. And to a degree, that's right. Most of what you do within a franchise setting should be dependent on who your quarterback is, what he can and can't do, and what your expectations are by having that quarterback on your team, right? So by having a Josh Allen on your team, he's the best quarterback in football. He's a unicorn. He can throw the ball anywhere on the field. So that should dictate that you get an offensive system in here that works to his strengths and works to his mentality in games. He wants to go down the field. It's hardwired into his DNA, it seems. You need to make sure that you get him a guy that can allow him to do that, right? Now, that doesn't mean it has to be Joe Brady, but you got to get a guy that fits what he likes to do. That doesn't necessarily mean that he needs to sit in on meetings, right? There's a quote from so Jim Monis does a podcast with Tyler Dunn, and yeah, I just made it long-winded by commenting. Lynn says Aramis is the most negatively positive Bills fan out there. No. Again, objective. Listen, anything that is not rah-rah praising should not be taken as, oh, it's negative. There's a way of analyzing things where you're just doing thought exercises. I guess that's kind of what I like to do. I like to do a lot of thought exercises. I like to just, pull strings apart, take the remote control car apart and see how it works. You know what I mean? And then put it back together, and I'll understand it a little bit better when I do that. And the more I do that, the better I understand the inner workings of a thing. But back to what I was saying about Josh Allen being a part of this process with an owner that kind of has the wrong mindset about, how he's building the franchise. Josh Allen, right now in his current setting, knows that everything the Bills have done right now, including GM Brandon Beane, is built around making him comfortable, making him happy. When you hear Brandon Beane talk about protecting the quarterback, that's all about Josh Allen. That's all about his comfort, in the pocket. When you hear about wide receivers, Josh Allen was on First Things First, right? And they asked him about, what, I forgot the exact question, but he was asked about what is it that causes him to go into that mode where he's, throwing interceptions, and how can he avoid that, right? And the first thing that comes out of Josh's mouth is flow of the game. Flow of the game was the first thing he said. Now, when I hear flow of the game, and this could just be me, when I hear flow of the game, I'm thinking game situations, right? It's 3rd and 7, and I got Pat Surtain on one side of the field. So whoever that is on that side of the field, I got to be careful going over there. My best bet walking up to the line is going at whoever Riley Moss is covering, right? Or maybe going at their nickel corner, or maybe, based on the route, the play that was called, maybe I can get a one-on-one with the safety and Kincaid, something like that, right? But in those situations, who am I throwing to, right? So when we're talking about wide receiver, we're talking about yet another situation within the flow of the game. Now, that was a very nice way for Josh Allen to say, listen, if we're tied at the end of the game and it's been tough to move the ball all game and I don't have any receivers to really depend on all like that, I'm going to do what I got to do. I might tuck the ball and run. I might try to figure something out because it's been tough all game long. We haven't had a flow to the offense. We haven't been able to score at will. It's been hard. So I'm going to do the best job that I can do to contribute what I know is probably the best shot we have at moving the ball, which is either these legs or just chucking that ball in there somewhere where it might be a little risky, but man, if I fired in there at the right time, man, that'd be a huge play, right? That's a problem for me, because what Josh is essentially saying is, I guess maybe I shouldn't say it's a problem for me. It's concerning for me, right? And it's concerning for two reasons. The first thing is it's concerning because the the parameters with which Josh was asked to play by don't seem to have changed much when you're keeping the same offensive guy, the guy who was calling the offense, on the team and now giving him more power. Maybe some things will look different, but ideally this is still a first-time head coach. He's not going to want to be responsible for Josh Allen taking a step back and throwing more turnovers because he's throwing the ball more. So he's going to try to make sure that the throws are safe throws. He's going to try to make sure that the route combinations are, effective enough so that a guy who can't get open in man-to-man coverage can still get open. Mesh routes. You get what I'm saying? Like this is leaning so heavily into Josh is going to need not just help from a personnel standpoint, but help from a schematic standpoint. I think that's essentially what he's trying to say. And that's not anything huge, but what happens when you take that thought and you connect it with what we've been hearing Brandon Beane say this entire time? And this is the major point. This is the coup de grace. This is it right here. This is what you've been waiting for, Roy. This is it. What happens when you take Josh's mindset of, I need better personnel, better scheme, I need to be able to throw the ball down the field, I need to be able to play my style, and you incorporate into that all of the rhetoric that Brandon Beane has been saying that sounds the exact same? Because when Brandon Beane went on with Jerry and Joe, he was asked about he was asked a few questions about personnel and how he's seeing making moves. Is the first round pick going to be involved if these moves are available and stuff like that? And the first thing that Brandon Beane goes to is the same thing that Brandon Beane always goes to. Well, if there's a guy out there that we might be interested in, we're going to call, we're going to ask around, we're definitely going to kick the tires and see if there's something there. And, if it makes sense for the Buffalo Bills and it fits within our salary cap, all the same stuff, all the same exact stuff. And what does that tell me? It tells me that while Brandon Beane is trying to puff his chest out there and saying, yeah, we're going to be aggressive, you really can't be aggressive if your mindset and what you're saying is still the same as it was when Sean McDermott was still here. Go back and look at go back and listen to some of his interviews from last year. All the same stuff. All the same stuff. The most he did in this interview on WGR was joke around about drafting a wide receiver in every round. I can't make this up. Right, Lynn. Flush the toilet is what I heard. Exactly. So that is what's most troubling for me is everything that you've listened to this week sounds like it's going to be different. It sounds like it's going to be now. There are certain aspects, right? Jim Leonard talked about, we're not going to try to fit guys into a specific scheme. We're going to play to our players' strengths. Joe Brady has said the same thing. All that means is that our DC and our head coach are in alignment. That's really all that means. They're saying the same thing. That's a stark difference from when Sean McDermott was here trying to just stick people into his system and force feed them through, gameplay. But man, I end up in this situation where I'm hoping that there has been a push from the owner to do more than one big thing in this offseason to really convince Josh that they are going after this thing, because Brandon Beane's fear, and he stated it again in the same interview, he doesn't want to be, the Raiders. He doesn't want to be the Jets. In his mind, going for it, trading up for players, trying to get all the big names and stuff like that. In his mind, every time a team goes and gets all the big names, they end up in the dumpster. The issue here is and this has really been my biggest issue with Brandon Beane in general, is how do you keep forgetting who your quarterback is? How do you keep forgetting that Josh Allen is a guaranteed playoff berth? Like, how does that not run through your brain? Like, the Buffalo Bills franchise can take risks that no other team can take other than maybe the Chiefs. Name one other team that can take the kind of risks that the Buffalo Bills can take when you have the best quarterback in the NFL, in the world, perhaps. Like, that should immediately give you the unction of, and we can trade up in every first round every single year. And if it doesn't work out, guess what? We still gonna make the playoffs. We still got a shot. What that does do, though, and the person that does hurt if it doesn't work out, is Brandon Beane. Let's be clear about who this is about. Let's be clear about who's affected by everything that's happening right now. They say they're doing it for Josh, but look at what Brandon Beane is saying. Look at who he's empowering. Look at how this is being built. They went with guys that didn't want to come in and shake up the roster. They'll shake up the defense because that was Sean McDermott's stank on the team. We ain't got no problem getting that out of there. We have no issue with that whatsoever. Dan, real quick, it seems like our audio is low. I'm not sure.
Our audio is low?
Yeah. Maybe it could be me. All right, how's this? I'm turning myself up.
Because I had a poll out there asking if the audio and the video was nice and clear, and everyone answered yes.
Oh, okay. It could just be Tommy's system being weak. I'm joking, bro. I'm joking. I turned my vocals up a little bit.
Let us know in the chat if you're having issues hearing us.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I turn my vocals up a little bit. Hopefully you can hear me better. Bone says if Beane wants to keep his job, I feel like he has to change. You don't have the job that he has and get to where he's gotten by just making any old change. You get what I'm saying? Like, guys like that who have played the game that he's played and ended up in the position that he's ended up in, where he's got free reign over this whole team, basically, to run this thing however he wants to run it. You don't get to that position by, making changes from a place of humility. You make changes from a place of, I don't want to be seen making that mistake again, right? But this is year one of Brandon Beane's show, and that's the issue. What the owner and the president of football operations is expecting everybody to do is what's going on?
I'm just gonna turn it up.
Oh, okay. What the owner and the GM / president of football operations is expecting everybody to do is just forget that everything that happened before. Should I turn my gain down if that's gonna be?
No.
Oh, okay. But we can't succumb to that. We can't just give into that. We can't, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I'll give you an example. For those of you that debated with me, argued with me when I told you that Sean McDermott is affecting a lot of these draft picks, and even in the last week or so, I started to second guess myself, whether or not that was accurate, just because of stunt, this whole stunt that Sean was pulling, criticizing the roster and all that kind of stuff. Jim Monis on the podcast with Tyler Dunn, I think it was earlier this week. I think it might have been last week, Monday. When Sean was being hired and he was in that negotiation process, he told his owner straight up to tell the team, part of me signing on as head coach is I, as the head coach, have control of the 53. Okay, that's on the podcast. Y'all can go watch it. Tyler Dunn. You probably just type in Tyler Dunn on YouTube and go straight to his channel. You can check it out for yourself. It was made clear that Sean McDermott wanted control of the 53. That was a part of his deal. Now, what that means is that doesn't mean that he was drafting the players. That's not what that means. It's not what I'm saying. What control of the 53 means is on cut day, however many players they cut, whoever they cut, all the players that are left on the team, all the players that are on that 53 and whoever they got on practice squad is all determined by the head coach. Which is why we now know, and obviously it was made clear by Joe Brady, Sean did not want Keon Coleman. But how you gonna cut the highest pick, the highest wide receiver you've taken in the entire time that you've been a head coach there? His hand was forced at that point, which is why he started to criticize the moves. But everything that I've just said sounds funny until you realize how serious it really is, until you realize that picking Keon Coleman was a power play. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to think about that. Think about that for a second. Your head coach already told you what kind of players they want, right? And you know coaches tell the scouts what players they want because Jim Leonard just had an extensive meeting with our scouts, telling them what kind of players to look for on defense. So you know that the coaches are giving these scouts and giving the GM an idea of who they're looking for. So it should have been clear. Don't bring no yellow bubble coat wearing knucklehead up in here. And no disrespect to Keon, because I love the dude. But I'm saying this from Sean's perspective. He may not necessarily be using these words, but his demeanor on immature players has been very clear over the years. He doesn't tolerate them at all, right? Shaq Lawson was one of those guys. He'd bring him in when he had to. But as soon as he could get rid of him, he was gone in the following year. Or he was gone a few weeks later. Or he was back on the practice squad. Out of sight, out of mind. Get him out of here. That's who Sean was. So how do we end up with Keon Coleman? It kind of makes those videos hit a little bit heavier. When you think about, and I know I kind of poo-pooed on those videos from the standpoint of, that doesn't necessarily mean that only Beane wanted this player. But, man, I got to say, after I'm considering all this stuff now and knowing that Sean McDermott had control over the 53 as a part of his deal, dissension in the front office, him and Brandon Beane not being on the same page, then Keon Coleman gets picked and Brandon Beane has his interview first and says, yeah, he's going to be our ex. Then Sean comes out and says he's going to have to earn his spot. I don't know. It seems,
Stay with me now.
Like, in all seriousness, we got to consider these things, right? This is why I like to do the thought exercises, because when you start pulling them strings apart, you start to really see the whole picture. You start to really see where we're at right now with this franchise. We're about to go through, and I'm going to tell you my prediction right now. We are chasing a Super Bowl right now. And the owner wanted you to think that right after they fired Sean McDermott. The owner wanted you to think that right after we fire Sean McDermott, we're doing it because we're chasing a championship. The GM, however, would have you to believe that they think that they were so close that all it's going to take is recreating the scenario that happened for the Buffalo Sabres, which is you get the guy out of the room that is creating a certain atmosphere for everybody else that they don't like, and then the winning will just happen. It'll just come. It'll just come. The issue there, though, is the Sabres have so many first-round picks and elite players at big-time positions. I don't even watch hockey like that. But I know Dahlin is good. I know Tuck is good. I know who's the other center that we got? I know he's a great player. Like these are elite dudes that are playing at elite levels and scoring and doing all this stuff. We have 2 guys like that on a team of 53. A hockey team is much smaller, and we probably got like 6 of them kind of dudes. I could be wrong. I don't watch hockey all like that, but yeah. And you know what, T-Dog? I'm going to agree with you. The soft locker room is right. Soft locker room is right.
I wonder why.
Right. Soft locker room is right. Like, I don't have an issue criticizing my team where it needs to be criticized. That's why I do this show, because nobody else is willing to do that. Everybody else is trying to keep it positive and trying to keep hope alive. Hope is going to be there. Hope is there for when the season starts. Right now, it's the offseason. We need to address the issues. We need to get it right. This whole show is about trying to get it as right as humanly possible. And here I am finding out that this is yet another rig job by one of the guys that was responsible for the original rig job. We fired Sean McDermott thinking that Beane was good. And I get it. Everybody watching this, you probably don't think, aside from maybe Tommy, you probably don't think that Beane is blameless, right? But I mean, I'm very interested in people's thoughts after everything that I've just talked about right now, because to me, that was huge for me, just putting that all together and realizing like this is crazy. This is crazy. Let's get to a few comments here. The GM missed picks. How many times did the Sabres draft in the top 10? I mean, yeah, I get it. But here's the deal. Brandon Beane has always touted himself as being aggressive. Heck, he even said in the same interview, like, I have people that have to hold me back from being aggressive. He did trade up 15 spots for TJ Sanders. Let's do that in the first round and get players that are actually worth it, right? The Sabres have gone through what they've gone through because, first and foremost, hockey is different. Like, you can have an elite center or something like that, and your team still sucks. It's very, very difficult in the NFL to have an elite quarterback and still suck. I mean, the reason the Bengals have sucked, when they have the 10th overall pick this season, is because their quarterback gets hurt. Not because he plays bad, not because the team is bad, because he just gets hurt. Every other year where he's been healthy and has played most of the season and really hasn't missed that many games, they've been in the playoffs and they've gone pretty deep. Like, they don't just miss the playoffs for no reason.
Hockey is 100% different.
Yeah.
I mean, if you pay attention this year, a team like Nashville signed so many big names, and that's not how it always works in hockey. They're flailing. They're thinking about getting rid of everyone. I mean, they screwed their cap. They screwed everything because it's not working out, and they have all these big names. In football, if you have a big name quarterback, a big name guy on defense, and a few other big names on the team, you're usually going deep in the playoffs.
That's right. It's absolutely right. That's why they're called cornerstones. We all know what they are. Corner, pass rusher. You need a quarterback and a wide receiver and a left tackle. That's your 5 cornerstones of a successful franchise. Left tackle, quarterback, pass rusher, corner, and what was the other one I named? Left tackle, quarterback, pass rusher,
cornerback,
corner,
and receiver.
And wide receiver. Thank you. Wide receiver. You need a number 1 wide receiver. You got those 5 things, you're doing all right. Let's get to a few more comments here. There was a question from T-Dog on what's. Oh, okay. It says, is it the scouts or the coach's fault, or the coach that's at fault? Well, knowing what we know now from what just Jim Mona said, that, you know, Sean wanted control of the 53, it has to be on the coach. So in that sense, I was right. Not that I need to take a lap for it or whatever, you know, but my point is, Sean is the one giving the criteria for the players. And for those of you that think that, you know, Brandon Beane can just get the guys he wants, he did that with Keon Coleman. And how did that work out? When he did get used, it didn't look pretty because he was put in positions that he shouldn't have been in an offense that he really shouldn't be playing in. That's what it looks like when Brandon Beane tries to insert guys in there that he's trying to get in, that he knows are athletic enough to make an impact if they're used the right way, which is why we're hearing a lot of the stuff that we're hearing now about what? Using guys the right way, playing to players' strengths. That's why we're hearing that now. So, yeah, it's absolutely the coach's fault, the coach's fault at that point, because he's the one feeding the scouts the criteria needed in the players that he wants on his team. And I imagine in most cases before the last 2 or 3 years, there were probably players that you know, being drafted that didn't make the 53. Think about how many guys that we drafted in the later rounds that people thought were good players, all right players, developmental guys that never made the team. Caden Prather got cut. Caden Prather was the only receiver we drafted last year. Cut. And he was nice. I remember watching him on tape. I tried to tell everybody he looks like a 6'4" Stephon Diggs when he's playing. Not saying he's going to turn out to be that, but hell, playing with Josh Allen, most receivers should be able to grow and develop and get better. I mean, Tyrell Shavers, for crying out loud. Every time we see this kid, he's making a play on the field.
There's plenty of those draft picks, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even Ulufosio, and remember Daquan Hardy? Yep.
Daquan Hardy was asked to be, how can I put this?
Oof, the 2023 draft is rough. I'm looking at all the draft history right now.
Read them out.
So the first picks were good. Dalton Kincaid, which we sold some of our picks to get. So we only ended up with 6 picks. So we got Dalton Kincaid, Osiris Torrance, and Dorian Williams. And then we got Justin Shorter, Nick Broker, I think is how you pronounce it, and Alex Austin, none of who are on the team.
Jeez. I mean, I can't make this up. I can't make this up. Iro says, we knew Prather was gone. He couldn't beat out Shavers. But that's kind of my point. Why did he need to beat out Shavers? You couldn't. I mean, think about how many defensive linemen we've kept on this team that have been overpaid. Think about that. Did we really need all, like, I'll put it like this. For those of you that were in support of this defensive line rotation, the talk from Jim Leonard is, based on what Sal's saying, we want 11 on the field. We want 11 on the field that can do everything we need them to do. Are they going to rotate? Yeah, when they need a blow, they put the finger up. They get a blow. They get a down or two. But then they back. That's the NFL I got used to. That's why when I was looking at this rotation stuff that Sean McDermott was trying to do, like keep the defensive line fresh. That sounds nice if you're the Eagles. That sounds great if you got Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Milton Williams and who was the other guy, the pass rusher, Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham and all these other guys that they had on the team at the time. Like if you got Fletcher Cox, you got all them dogs on the D-line, yeah, rotate them. Because you're going to get, you no matter who's going out there, you got talent on the field. You got dogs on the field that can go eat.
This is crazy.
What?
I just looked over the whole history of McDermott's tenure. our draft picks in different positions, almost all of our D-line picks were kept. When other stuff, if it wasn't working out, they were gone. The only D-line picks that we actually moved on from was Boogie Basham.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other one? Daryl Johnson. And he took a while to let go of.
Yep. He stuck around for a while. Matter of fact, he was bouncing from the practice squad to the roster quite often. Quite often. Oh man, T-Dog, we tried, man. We sure enough tried. We sure enough tried, man. Bledsoe threw for 4,000 yards, man. We tried. That was one of the best teams we ever had, man. Think about everybody that was on that roster. I gotta look it up. That was what? That was 04? 03? Is that 03? Let me see.
While you're looking that up,
Yep.
I put out a poll because you heard the news about WGR this week.
Yes, they have. They've been circumcised from the Buffalo Bills games.
Yes, so I asked in the poll because I was going off of, so basically Buffalo News Today put out an article on this, and they said that WGR didn't really have a lot of time to plan when contract talks started going south with the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
So they just had to quickly call on Audible and make up a show with some of the fill-in guys from the morning, Zach and Derek, that usually fill in for Sal.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing that they were talking about in the article is Sal is still not guaranteed to be the sideline reporter because he's officially with WGR.
Oh, that would be so glorious.
And so I asked in a poll, I said, with the game audio rights being taken over by the Bills, would you like a new sideline reporter? It was yes, no, or I don't care, I only watch on TV. 44% only watch on TV. However, of the people that voted, only 8% wanted to keep him. 48% wanted to move on. So if the Bills are listening to this type of thing, if this is a consensus thing with Bills fans, we might see Sal gone.
Wow.
And he might be strictly with WGR, stranded with all the guys that they're not being able to have full access to everything anymore.
Finally, we can have Sal back. That man, listen. I would love nothing more than for Sal to be a civilian again, because that's when I loved listening to that dude.
When he can be honest.
Yeah. When he can just say what he feels. I used to love listening to that dude because he would go off. He would go off on the radio, pissed off at stuff he's seeing, pissed off at stuff that's wrong. Like, just tell it like it is, bro. Like, that's why I do the show the way I do the show. Like, I love the team. Like Lynn said, I probably sound like the most negative, Bills fan ever, but that's because I expect better. For my entire existence as a Bills fan, it has been terrible decision after terrible decision after terrible decision that has led to so close but no cigar. I don't know how much more of that I could take. Like, I'm going to be quite honest. I really started to question my fanhood when Joe Brady was hired, and I'm so serious, because I started to feel like, is this never going to end? How is it that we keep we keep seeing the team make moves based off of a small town mentality? Our owner is making decisions based off a small town mentality. Matter of fact, to the conversation me and you were talking about before the show, Dan, the stadium being here only for football, as opposed to, how were you saying that?
Yeah, it was the video that I was watching. I don't remember the creator's name, otherwise I'd give him credit. But they were breaking down that our stadium, of these new stadiums being built, is the only one that's really dedicated towards strictly being a football place. It's not an event hoster. It's not meant for it. It can probably do some of that, but it's not designed for that. It's designed specifically for football. It's going to be the stadium with the closest seats in the inner part of the bowl to the field. And the top is going to be the closest to the field of any stadium in the league. They built the canopy to reflect the sound, kind of like in Seattle, to make things louder. So they're going for like a very intimate and very, very loud atmosphere that's going to be super intimidating for opposing teams when they come in. And then they kind of said an FU to the league and didn't build a dome, even though the league likes weather games for looks reasons, but they don't want it to affect the game at all.
Exactly.
And if there is a bad snowstorm, I'm sure it's still going to start filling up the field. So it was kind of an FU to the league, because even though we have the wind mitigation and we have the heated field and stuff, that's great in a normal storm, but lake effect is a different animal.
Yep.
And so I am sure they were gunning for us to build the dome.
Yep.
And we said no.
Yep. And look, okay, you want to give the finger to the NFL? Sure. I mean, for all the crooked stuff that they do, somebody needs to stand up to them. Cool. But the thing I take issue with in all of that is the idea behind the open stadium wasn't just a middle finger to the NFL. In my mind, when I thought about it, I'm like, a big part of the reason that they said they didn't build a dome was because of their conversations with season ticket holders who want the outdoor feel still. They don't want to be in a dome. They want to be in outdoors. Why? Because they want the big, beautiful snowflakes falling during the game, because it's so cool to look at. And, oh, do you remember when LaShawn McCoy had to run through 2 feet of snow to score a touchdown? Listen, all of that from the fan perspective, all right, fine. But there ain't one player on this earth that's looking at Buffalo like, man, I would love to play in 4 feet of snow. Not one. Not one. And I get that the fans are buying the tickets. I get that the league doesn't exist without fans. But at the end of the day, how much of the moves that are being made right now are about just the fan experience and not about the television experience, right? Because streaming services and all the deals that have just come on now with the NFL and how that's going to kick in 2020, I think 9 or 2030. Like, that's when those deals kick in and the salary cap starts to shoot sky high. It's because everything that the NFL has been doing has been geared towards what? Trying to make the television experience as great as it can possibly be. Why? Because the NFL is trying to globalize itself. It's trying to appeal to the entire world. It is no longer about just the fans in the city. They want you to think that they still care, and they, to some degree, yeah, they still do, because they want, the owners in particular want the income from those tickets, right? That's like rent money. You know what I mean? For one apartment in a duplex, right? But the television deal is that upstairs apartment or that side apartment, on the right side, where the rent payment you get from that is all additional income. So why would I make it all about, the person that's living downstairs or the person that's living on the left side when I could have both? And let's be real. The money that I'm charging for that upstairs apartment is giving me way more than these fans could ever give me in a lifetime. Ever. So that's why you see the wind mitigation. That's why you see all the other ancillary stuff that's going on with the stadium, the canopy and all that kind of stuff, because if you're not going to build a dome, then you damn sure are going to do everything you could possibly do to make the environment as controllable as possible, not just for the fans, but for the television experience as well. We got to get this game to people in Zimbabwe.
That point that Bones just made is the thing that I am concerned about with this new stadium.
What's that?
He said we can't afford tickets anymore. And that's the biggest change, unfortunately, that they have made. Is it seems like, although the Bills are focused about their team, being able to have a good football experience. The fans, it seems like they're trying to cater to a certain type of fan at this point. Someone who's a little bit more wealthy. They're making everything a little more upscale with this new stadium. There's less seating, which makes it more desirable, harder to get. And the other thing is, we were talking about this, the tailgate experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the NFL is trying to change that. The one good thing is that they do know that a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford it. And so they had Verizon come in and build this big like server building, something like that, right next to the stadium in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be able to support like, I think like 80,000 phones connecting to the Verizon network in that area, because they're planning on having a lot of people outside the stadium that can't afford tickets.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Everybody across the street too. I mean, it sounds appealing if tailgating was your thing. But one of the best parts of tailgating is, all right, it's time to go into the game.
Right. The whole point is to get yourself hype and ready for the game.
Right. Which was, I mean, that part to me, like, it's spin. It's spin. This is what the PR team does. You think it's a coincidence that all of a sudden the Bills hired Joe Brady and now they are appearing literally everywhere. You can't watch a TV show or a podcast without them being on it. You think that was a mistake? You think Josh Allen going on First Things First to talk about some sort of product or something like that was a mistake? The PR team is doing the best job they possibly can after the debacle that happened in the owner and GM press conference to restore the face of the franchise.
I think that's honestly part of the reason why WGR got axed, is because on a lot of the shows they weren't naming names, but they were pretty openly critical about the organization, especially at the top.
Well, think about it from this perspective. The president of football operations has the power to dictate who gets the games and who gets the access. You think it's a coincidence that Brandon Beane cussed out Jerry and Joe last year and he gets a promotion and gets all that power, and as soon as he's in power and has solved the head coaching situation, he cuts out the team that was criticizing him specifically? You don't see the connection in all that? Like, that's the craziest part about all of this is
I don't think that's even the main motive. That might be part of it. I don't even think that's the main motivating factor. I think it's Terry.
What you mean?
I think Terry got very uncomfortable with fans and then also media going after him for the way he treated Sean and the way on WGR they were calling him emotional. I mean, they were not holding back, and I think that offended him. And I think he looked at the books and was like, look, if we can make similar or more money just doing it ourselves, then why not? Because I think they're actually in line to probably make more money than just having a radio deal, because at the end of the day, WGR is a business too. So they had to be making money on paying the Bills for the rights and then advertising during the game. So if the Bills just do it themselves and run their own advertising, they'll probably make more money themselves anyway.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's a great point. That is a very good point. And, I mean, look, they're going to have to try and recoup the money, in it by any means necessary. Because at the end of the day,
there was a rumor, I don't know how true it is, but there's a rumor that they might be consider it being behind a paywall. You have to pay to stream the audio. It's not confirmed, but I did see a few people floating that idea out there that they're considering it. I don't know how true that is.
Well, what they would be doing is following the NFL Network model, which
right.
is you create you as a team have access to all the stuff. So if you create a media network that streams access to the team, guess what? There's gonna be a streaming service out there, a Netflix or a Hulu, or maybe one of the lesser ones that says, hey, can we stream your stuff on our thing so that we can get viewers? Oh yeah, you want to do that? Okay. I mean, I'm kind of thinking 10 million is a good number, for 2 years. You know what I mean? And that service would probably be willing to pay it because of all the business that would come from the draw. But that's why the NFL created the NFL Network originally. Or I'm sorry, that's why they sold it. Because originally they created the NFL Network so that they wouldn't have to continuously barter and negotiate with ESPN for to carry their content. But obviously with Disney owning ESPN now and what the NFL has done with the deal that they've done with selling NFL Network to ESPN for a 10% share in ESPN, is the NFL understands the gravity of Disney and all of the production companies and ancillary companies that are up under the Disney brand. Hell yeah, I'll take 10% of that. That gets me in the door. 10% of ESPN gets me in the door to have further conversations with Disney. That's huge for the NFL. That is a great business move for the 32 NFL owners. It's not a great deal for us because that means streaming services and prices and all that kind of stuff is going to go sky high. It's going to be hard to get to the content. We're going to be seeing more stuff on, Paramount Plus and all of these, smaller streaming services because they're willing to pay, to pony up the money to get the stuff. So we have to be conscious of all of this. We have to be conscious of what this owner, what this president of football operations is doing. I feel sorry for Joe Brady right now because he is the sacrificial lamb. I hate saying it like that, like this is gonna fail. I don't think it's going to look terrible, but unless they decide to drastically change the offensive scheme and start throwing the ball downfield, 60-40. Like it better be at least 60-40 for this thing to look vastly different. If they don't do that and they don't get production out of Keon Coleman and they don't get whatever elite receivers, if they even are elite receivers, like if they bring Brandon Ayuk in here and he turns out to be a dud, that's on Joe Brady.
I already see people trying to say that Carnell Tate is Justin Jefferson 2.0.
No. Okay, hold on. Who is the other receiver at Georgia right now?
Georgia.
Or is it Ohio State?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Jeremiah Smith?
Yes, Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith is that boy. Like Keys was saying, Jeremiah Smith is that boy. Like I just watched Carnell Tate highlights. Like the first thing I do when I'm looking into a player is what's their measurables, okay? And then I go watch them on tape, but I watch the highlights first because I want to see the best of them. I want to see what coaches are looking at and what they think is going to be the most that they can get out of this player, right? So when you're looking at highlights as and you're watching it with a scouting eye, you're just kind of looking for what's the best this player can be, right? And from a coach's perspective, they're looking at, that's their best in college, but I think I can get a little bit more out of that at the NFL level if they work on this and work on that and change that, right? Then what I do after that is I go and I start to watch their lowlights. After I watch their lowlights, then okay, I go start watching like actual games and watching just regular reps in, game in, game out, whether they're getting the ball, whether they're not getting the ball. But my point in bringing that up is watching Carnell Tate's highlights. I didn't even get to any of the other stuff yet on Carnell Tate. As soon as I saw the highlights, I'm like, what's the hype about? Like, I'll give you a player that he reminds me of watching him on tape right now. Oh gosh, his name just left me. Who was the guy that played for the Browns that ended up getting banned for a year?
Josh Gordon, are you talking about?
He reminds me of Josh Gordon.
Okay.
That's who he reminds me of. When you watch his game, like I get people saying the Justin Jefferson thing. He looks more like Josh Gordon when he plays. Now, Josh Gordon was not a bad receiver.
Yeah, he had a pretty good year or two.
Yeah.
Problem is he couldn't stay consistent.
Right. And that's my point. I don't see a guy with his skill set and what he's putting on highlight tapes having the ability to just come into the NFL and do it like that. Like there's one guy that I saw who what's his name? Jordan. Who's it? Hold on.
So I have a question for you.
Yep. Jordan Tyson. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So let's just have a little scenario here. Would you be upset? Because I know everyone wants a wide receiver right now. Jeremiah Smith will be ready for the draft next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be upset if we preemptively traded away top picks this year to get great picks for next year to basically guarantee that we can scoop Jeremiah Smith? Obviously, we wouldn't know that that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
but if you took this year and ran it back with the same type of wide receivers we've been doing,
mm-hmm.
but next year we get Jeremiah Smith in the draft, would you take that?
No. You there's no way to guarantee that you'd ever be in position to draft that receiver. There's no way.
You think he's going top 5?
It doesn't matter if he goes top 20. The bottom line is you still have to trade up to be in position to get a guy like that. I'll put it like this. With where your first round pick is this year, you would have to still give up a lot just to have whatever team you trade with have their first round pick, and they would have to end up being a bottom of the league team so that pick is high. You can't guarantee that.
So you don't think if we traded away our first round pick this year
mm-hmm.
for a first rounder and
with who?
I don't know.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Maybe someone that's after us, if they want to move up or whatever. Maybe we trade away in this scenario because we're at like 26, 25, 26. So someone after us in
mm-hmm.
the end of the first round. If we trade away our first this year for a first and like a fifth or something like that next year, or a first and a third.
Okay.
So we have that. So we'll have 2 first rounders and an extra pick somewhere in there. So you couldn't see 2 first rounders and a middle round pick being able to move up enough to grab a receiver?
Well, again, because this is the holdup. This is what gets in the way of that. Let's say I'm the Dolphins, or you know what? Let's not even go there. Let's say I'm the Raiders, right? And I'm drafting Mendoza this year. Next year, I plan on getting what's his name? Jermaine what?
Jeremiah Smith.
Jeremiah Smith. Next year, I'm planning on getting Jeremiah Smith because I know I'm probably gonna have a high pick the following season. Like I got a good quarterback, but it's gonna be his first season. The hope is he does well and we go far. But if he doesn't, that's Jeremiah Smith is the guy I'm eyeing. And let's say I'm the Raiders and I end up with the 5th overall pick the following season. You as the Bills are going to have to take that first round pick and that, fifth round pick and whatever else you want to use to try and get to at least 4 so that you're ahead of me because you want the same guy I want. And if the Bills allow, or I'm sorry, if I'm the Raiders, I'm not letting you, the Bills, trade with me to get a player I want. Like Beane even said that, when he calls guys on draft day, like they don't outright ask, but they'll try to, hey, who are some of the guys you're looking at, right? They want to know that stuff because I'm not finna empower you to take somebody that I got high on my board that fits what we doing. So there's no guarantee that making a move like that ensures that I'll be able to be in position the following season to get Jeremiah Smith. So ideally, you have a few teams in mind that you think might be bad enough, and you've had a couple of conversations to see if they might be, willing to do some deals, but that only gets you, 50% of the way, right? You get an additional 20 to 30% from the compensation, and then that last 20 to 30% is chance. It's all left to chance because you have to hope that the player that team wants is not the same player you want. That's really what'll get him to say yes. So, I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to say my thought process is the amount of capital you'd have to give up to prepare for that and to be able to swing Jeremiah Smith.
Mm-hmm.
If he is Justin Jefferson 2.0, why not just go get Justin Jefferson?
Well, that's
I get you got to pay his contract, but he's not going to take any time to develop.
Yep.
He's ready to go. He's in his prime right now. He's committed.
Yep.
And
he's already got the money, so it's about winning.
Right.
If he comes here, it's about winning. You go and get him because it's about winning. Not because and I again, if Brandon Beane is as smart as I think he is, then he's intelligent enough to know that drafting a wide receiver in the first round is not going to solve the problem. It's not. If anything, all you're doing is creating more questions around Keon Coleman if you do that. So the answer has to be you're going to sign or trade for a guy. I can't see another way outside of trading or signing a guy in free agency that brings a receiver in here that doesn't create more questions than it answers.
So if it's not Justin Jefferson, who else?
Well, I mean, you can still trade for Jalen Waddle. I mean, he's obviously available if you wanted him.
Am I crazy that I don't think that that's worth the amount of capital and you're giving it to a division rival too?
Well, yeah. I mean, you asked me who else I would do for.
I just in my mind, I'm like, it's Justin Jefferson or bust at this point. Like, if you're going to get a receiver already in the league that you have a chance to get, because someone like JSN or CeeDee Lamb, those types of players aren't being moved. Let's be honest. Justin Jefferson is probably the only elite receiver out there right now that there's a small, there's not much of a chance with him either. But he's been very vocal this week. Not super negative, but as if he's kind of floating an idea around,
Of course he is.
And we also know that their GM just got fired and they are in a disaster situation at QB right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's looking like a rebuild again.
Well,
and what other receiver of that level is in a situation like that where they have any chance of getting traded? That's my idea, is like, I don't see any receivers in the draft that are going to be ready and have the same type of production output as Justin Jefferson on this team at this moment. And he's the only receiver that you may have a chance at. So why not swing for the fences and try?
Right. Eye rolls. This is what we've been trying to tell people. Says I'm a diehard Buckeye fan. Tate is second round pick, maybe third, but he played for Ohio State and JSN just destroyed the league. Don't fall for it. Jeremiah is the reason he looks good. Tate gets single coverage all game. That's basically what I've been trying to tell folk. Like that's why you have to do your homework. That's why you got to do your homework, because if you listen to WGR, you think Carnell Tate is God on skates. Like and that's really not the case. Like he's not a scout. He doesn't have that eye. He looks at stats, he makes his assessments, and he goes on the radio and he says what he says. Maybe he knows a little bit of ball. Okay, cool. But he don't know enough to know that Carnell Tate looks like he looks for a reason. And he's not asking the right questions. So, you know, I mean, again, that's why I kind of gravitated towards Jordan Tyson, because when I'm watching Jordan Tyson, I see a guy with much more athleticism than Carnell Tate has. And when I'm talking athleticism, I mean agility, I mean quickness, I mean body control, I mean on film. Now, mind you, he's another one I've just gotten to the highlights on, but when you're watching all of the best aspects of his game, he reminds me a lot of OBJ with that type of athleticism, that ability to catch the ball and make moves after the catch. Josh Allen with a guy like that on the field, he could do some real damage. And with his quickness and his shiftiness, he's still 6'2", 200 pounds. Like, with all of that in a West Coast system, it would work. It would work. So even if not a lot changed on the offense and they maybe threw down the field a little bit more, Jordan Tyson still fits in that offense. So if there's a guy that I'm looking at that's coming out this year, that's a guy that I'd be willing to go and get. I don't know exactly where he's, slotted to go, but so far I like a lot more of what I see from Jordan Tyson than what I've been seeing from Tate.
Keon is not a tight end. Bills fan here.
Who said that?
Bills fan here.
Oh,
he said
okay.
Cut Knox, move Keon to tight end. That's not ideal for Keon.
Yeah,
he's better in the slot.
I put it like this: it would take him too long to develop into a good enough tight end. And realistically, what you're looking for from Keon Coleman is what we had in David Nelson. I don't know if anybody remembers David Nelson. David Nelson was 6'5", 210 pounds, and he was a slot. He was a big slot, and he was here when we had David Nelson and Stevie Johnson, and I'm sorry, Donald Jones. David Nelson played with Donald Jones and Stevie Johnson. But Nelson was a big slot. That's how Keon Coleman needs to be used. And to be quite frank, I mean, you hear Joe Brady talking about, 11 and 10 formations with, what he wants to do with, that many receivers on the field. You could absolutely get Keon into a inside role that way. And again, not that needs to force not that it needs to force Shakir outside, but Shakir can do it. Here's the thing. When you're designing an offense around the skill set of your players, that should help you to dictate what the route concepts can also be. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, because this is the other thing that I hear about Shakir. Well, he's not really an outside receiver. Well, you don't always have to be an outright outside receiver to win outside. I mean, if the guy scheming up the offense and the route concepts is good enough, he can move some pieces around and get some guys to take, to take some coverage, away from you so that you can break inside on a 15-yard dig or something like that. Whereas if you just playing man straight up and you're on that side of the field by yourself, you may not get open against tight, against press man or man match. Like, we're not asking Shakir to do that kind of stuff. If he's gonna be in a a 10 formation or something like that, and he motions outside, you still got that inside receiver that can run a go, and kind of push that coverage back so that Shakir can cut in on that dig route, and now there's your flood concept. That's all it is. It's simple. But that doesn't mean that Shakir, going to the outside means he's got to be able to, to be a traditional outside receiver. No, you do things that work to the benefit of the skill set of the players that you have. So when I'm thinking about Keon Coleman, I'm thinking about really realistically all these receivers moving around. If you're smart, you don't just pigeonhole guys into one place. Unless they are versatile. Like the type of defense that Jim Leonhard wants to build. He wants versatile guys that he doesn't have to, do what the Bills are doing. And, we're running this formation, so we need, this player, and this player. And they got to hurry up and run on the field and get in there. Oh, we're running this type of defense now, so we got to, forget all that. Get guys that can do a lot really good. And then put those 11 on the field and say, look, you may not, Greg Rousseau may not be the best outside linebacker in coverage, but guess what? Is he good enough to last 2 seconds so that this fire blitz that we're doing on the other side can get home? I think Rousseau is athletic enough to move around. I mean, work on your back pedal or turn your hips and get to a spot. Like, a lot of that stuff is easy to coach. You can go with landmarks on the field. You can, and it doesn't have to be all the time. You can do it on certain situations and certain plays, whatever. All I'm saying is you gotta get the guys into positions that help them, not hurt them. And that's why you don't put Keon Coleman as a tight end, because frankly, he's a big slot. That's where he needs to be, period. Did anybody else see the clip of Deion Dawkins before the Pro Bowl?
With Shador?
No, the one with him and Jeffrey Simmons.
Oh.
Did you see that one?
I didn't even really watch it. I saw your commentary on it, and I was like, I don't even need to watch this.
Okay. So
I started playing, and I scrolled past.
Okay. So I was trying to bring it up last show, and we didn't get a chance to. But there's a clip of Deion Dawkins taking a practice pass rush from Jeffrey Simmons, and basically all Simmons does is just bull rush. And Deion is kind of backpedaling, and he grabs Simmons' wrists and kind of lifts him up, right, to take away his leverage. And everybody that's watching this is like, they're like, he gonna, okay, that's what he gonna do. And then you see Quentin Williams come in and kind of mock what Deion Dawkins is gonna do next. He's like, watch, he gonna be like. And slap the hands down. And this situation, just for context for everybody, this was Deion Dawkins kind of, not showcasing his skill set, but just kind of talking about, pass rushers that he's gone against and how he can, how he sees pass rushers, how he plays against good pass rushers, right? This is what players do. They test each other and stuff like that. So as soon as Dawkins grabs Simmons' wrists and pushes him up and stuff like that, he's like, see, we need a real pass rusher. You're not a real pass rusher. This is what I'm talking about. You're not a real, he starts going in on Simmons. And Simmons, he's talking to the other guys. He's like, yeah, how many sacks you had last year? And the dude he's talking to is like, man, don't put me in this, right? And then what did Simmons say after that? He said 11 sacks. 11 sacks. And Deion didn't hear that whole part of that conversation where Jeffrey Simmons was telling the dude, I had 11 sacks last year. I don't know what this dude talking about. And Deion is like, he's like, wait, what? Who had 11 sacks? And Jeffrey Simmons was like, me. And here come Deion. Oh, you know, my boy. You try to slap Simmons up, and Simmons like, no. Keep all that same energy over there. You was talking all that stuff about I can't pass. Just last year, 11 sacks, big dog. Just last year, 11 sacks, big dog. What we talking about now? You trying to slap me up after I didn't even give you the full me on that pass rush, and you over here talking about we need a real pass rush, do this and that. Like, again, I can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. Y'all acting like Deion Dawkins, not y'all, that, you know, not everybody, but those people out there that are like, you know, Deion Dawkins is still a good tackle and this and that and the other thing. Like, this is who we talking about.
I heard people saying he should have been protector of the year.
How? His quarterback got sacked 41 times. How? Who won it?
Joe Tooney.
Joe Tooney for the Bears. How many sacks did Caleb Williams have? Let me see. How many times was Caleb Williams sacked in 2025? Yo, you know how many times Caleb Williams was sacked in 2025?
How many?
0. Protector of the year, huh? I don't even gotta say nothing.
0.
0.
What do you mean?
Oh, they're saying he got 0 defensive sacks. He was sacked 24 times.
Oh, okay.
He was sacked 24 times.
Says Joe Tooney allowed 0 sacks and took 2 penalties in the entire season. How many penalties did Deion take in the first half of the season? I was like averaging 1 a game at least.
That's your boy, man. That ain't I can't. I just can't with Deion. I can't with Deion. The more I'm asked to explain my dislike for the guy, the more evidence keeps coming up. Like, this
says he took 10 penalties and allowed 6 sacks. And he had, let's see, 957 snaps, while Joe Tooney had 1,149. So that's 200 more snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And 8 less penalties and no sacks.
Yep. Thank you, Iro. We need Simmons. I'll trade for him. Thank you. I would too. He's played in a 3-4 before. Bring him over. Says Deion getting bull rushed is not going to get better. No, it's not. It's not. I mean, look, is he good enough to get the job done to help Josh get to the promised land? He's good enough for now, right? Because you really can't get rid of his cap number. Let me just see where he's at right now. What's he making? So this coming season, he's set to make a base salary of $15.46 million.
At this point in his career, he's one of those players you call a glue guy.
Yep.
It's the culture, it's the relationship with the team and the players and the coaches. It's the leadership aspect. It's solid enough play that you're willing to pay him, but it's not the elite level that he once was anymore.
Would you be willing to pay $24 million for a glue guy?
Whew.
That's his cap number this season. Did you know that Deion Dawkins going into 2026 is the second highest paid Buffalo Bill behind Josh Allen?
Yeah, there's some interesting contracts at the top. I believe Dawson Knox is in the top 4 or 5 too.
Dawson Knox is the 5th highest paid Buffalo Bill going into 2026, ahead of Greg Rousseau. It goes Josh Allen, Deion Dawkins, Ed Oliver, Spencer Brown, Dawson Knox, Greg Rousseau, Jordan Palmer, Taron Johnson. Then it drops off drastically. Matt Milano is not going to be here anymore. He's on a void year unless they extend him. And then Curtis Samuel and then Christian Benford. Bosa on his void year. Michael Hoyt at $6 million in base salary. And then Khalil Shakir at 2.8 in base salary. And then James Cook at 2.01 million in base salary. Tyler Bass is making more this year in base salary than James Cook.
Do you think they're going to keep Tyler Bass?
I don't think they need to anymore.
Because I heard some people floating the idea that they should just cut him because of, one, his contract.
Mm-hmm.
Two, if Prater's willing to come back, he's worked with their special teams guy for years in Arizona. And if not, they already signed a futures deal for another kicker that's just waiting.
Well, if you cut him, you take a dead cap hit of $2.04 million, but that frees up $2.9 million in cap space. So, you're almost a full $1 million to the good if you do it. And you can take that $900,000 and pay your other kicker, and be done with the remnants of 13 seconds. I mean, realistically, I guess I shouldn't say realistically. In my mind, that's the only reason Tyler Bass is getting paid what he's paid and still on this team. It was hush money. You just shut up and kick the ball. Don't worry about who told you what. Don't answer no questions. We'll be all right.
I think he was kind of a glue guy too, to be honest.
Tyler Bass?
Yeah.
How?
With his, especially within the special teams unit, you could see how much the players liked him. I think he connected with the squad real well. There's some kickers where they're not really on, they're on the team, but they're kind of off to the side. They don't fit in super well. They're a little awkward. Some of them aren't great at doing anything other than kicking. So if they're on the field and there's a return, they might be the problem. Tyler Bass wasn't one of those guys. The guys seemed to really like Tyler Bass. So I'm wondering if maybe he was a glue guy. I mean, how many times did we hear players saying he's the what did they call him? The most swaggy kicker or something like that. He had the one eye patch and
yeah.
They loved his moxie.
I think a lot of that just be talk.
You think so?
Yeah, knowing this team and knowing how they like to hype each other because that's what the culture is. I think a lot of that is just talk. A lot of what think about it like this. Did you see James Cook mic'd up at the flag football game?
No, I didn't.
When you get a chance, look it up and listen to how much he talks being mic'd up during this thing. The game ain't even being played, and this is all just practice stuff that he's, warm-ups and all that kind of stuff. It's a practice.
They can't get him to talk in Bill's facility.
That's my point.
That's one thing that I noticed too when I saw little clips of him.
Mm-hmm.
He was smiling and laughing like crazy. I was like, you never see this.
Right. And
he's usually chill, but he's very relaxed and just kind of there, does his job, grinds, just seems like a chill guy that puts his head down and works. But he was alive at that Pro Bowl, huh?
He was talking to everybody. He just walk up and talk to people. The Bills would have us think that he is the shyest, most timid dude in the world, but you hear how he talks to players, out there at the Pro Bowl. He sound like he one of the boys. He sound like he out there just being one of the boys and just talking junk, just calling it like he sees it, cussing everything, everything that you would expect to hear from a regular NFL player out there during a practice, during a walkthrough. That's how he sounds.
You think more of that comes out in the building now that McDermott's out? You think Brady's a little more relaxed on that side? I tend to think that things will be at least slightly more relaxed. I mean, he is a South Florida boy
Yeah.
that grew up in a completely different culture.
Yep.
And is a little more in tune with the young crowd as well. So I think, I don't know how much different, because I know they want to maintain their culture, but I think it'll be more relaxed than it was.
Yeah, I would say in the building for sure.
I mean, how you got me reading the Tyler Dunn report. I couldn't believe it when I saw the comment about the Jordans being a problem during walkthrough.
Yep.
I was like, what?
Go tell him about it. Go tell him. I told you. It's all in there. It is all in there. What happened when they bought Chad Hall the truck?
Jeez.
What happened?
Chad Hall basically got run out the building for that, because you're not allowed to be close with your players where they actually appreciate you.
Yep. Straight up changed the work hours. Hey, knowing he had a baby boy, changed the work hours so that he had to come in. I'm sorry, so not just Chad Hall, but all the employees, all the assistants, everybody had to come in an hour earlier and stay an hour later. Like, don't you dare buy nobody a truck. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Let's get to a few comments here. Yeah, so I was saying this very early on in Deion's career that he might be an all-pro guard. He's already been a Pro Bowl left tackle. He would be an all-pro, maybe Hall of Fame guard if he really wanted to. And guards are getting paid now. Maybe not as much as tackles, but they're up there. They're up there.
So then would you be open to him sliding in and us getting a new left tackle?
If he's willing to do that, hell yes.
Do you think he's willing to?
No. No, not at all. The money's too good at tackle. He's the second highest paid player on the team being a left tackle, and it's justified because left tackle is always known to be a cornerstone of the team.
You think it would extend his career though if he moved in? You think he could have more years playing guard at a good level than at left tackle?
Yes. Mostly because of the way that he plays. He's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. Like, as much as we want to, laud him for being the blind side and all that kind of stuff, he really doesn't get to see a lot of elite pass rushers in the AFC here. To be quite honest, if you go back and look at the span of his career and look at some of the pass rushers that he's gone against, it's not a long list. It's really not. Go ahead.
Think about if he was on the Chiefs, facing Max Crosby, Nick Bonito, Zach Allen. I mean, no wonder why the Chiefs are always having O-line issues.
Right.
That division is stacked with rushers.
Right. And that's kind of the point. Like, what great pass rushers have we had in the AFC East? Like,
and then go to the AFC North.
Yeah.
Between the Bengals and the Steelers, Ravens have had some go in and out. I mean,
Yep. And they
AFC East has been starving for a pass rusher for years.
And that's 6 games a season that Dawkins just gets a break going against regular pass rushers.
Who was the best in the last decade, basically? Probably the guy that got traded, Quinnen Williams, and he's not strictly a pass rusher.
No, he's more of a run defender.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's probably the most dominant lineman of the last at least 5 years in the division, right?
I would say the guy that we signed this year from the Patriots. What's his name? Gosh.
Oh, the guy that they signed this year?
The Bills. We signed him late in the season. He played outside. He played outside linebacker for the Patriots. What is his
Judon, Matthew Judon.
Matthew Judon.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's probably the best guy that we've seen, the last 5 years.
And that was the tail end of his career.
Yeah. Before that, who was it? Who was it before that? The Dolphins didn't have anybody. I mean, maybe Bradley Chubb, but once Bradley Chubb went to Miami, he wasn't that great.
Even Christian Wilkins, he was all right, but he was never truly dominant like some of these other guys in these other
Yeah.
divisions.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even mention with like the AFC North has possibly the best defensive rusher of maybe all time, other than one or two players that you can argue are above him right now.
And for years, they've always had a top 5 pass rusher in that division.
Yeah.
Right. They went from they went from Terrell Suggs to TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, and they even had Trey Hendrickson in that
Right.
division. You know what I'm saying? Like
even before Terrell Suggs, I mean, there was some great rushers through the years in Ravens and Steelers. I mean,
Yep.
We are very lucky.
Yep. And that again, when you do the research and you zoom out and look at the macro and understand the context of the value of these players, you go online and you look at this roster and you start to realize right away, like, man, Josh has been doing so much with not much. And it's insane how much success we've had due to 2 things. Josh's ability to put us out of a jam that Sean McDermott was putting us in, and the fact that we had no competition in the AFC East for many, many years. Many years. Think about that for a second. The last time we had competent quarterback play in our division from another team was the last time Tom Brady was here.
Yep.
Were we making the playoffs at that time? No.
The year we had this year was very similar to the previous 5 years. The reason why we didn't win the division is because we actually had good competition.
Exactly.
We were not ready for that.
Yep. That's where I was going. That's exactly where I was going. The whole time that Tom Brady's been gone, you've squandered your opportunity. And me and Keys have been on this show talking for years now. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. You are running the division, but it will not last forever. It will not last forever. You have to do what's necessary now. Part of the reason because there's the cap situation with how much money that they could open up. Part of the reason I went as heavy as I did, finding every single dollar that you could pull out of this roster with restructures, cuts, extensions, all that kind of stuff. The reason I went that far into it, because there's other people that, they want to do it at a sensible level. The reason I did it the way I did it was to show how much was available if the Bills were really willing to go all out and do whatever it took to get the job done. And that means going through all 14 scenarios that I listed with all 14 players and either letting them walk, extending, cutting, or whatever, right? If they did all 14 of those things and it gave us that $112.7 million of cap space, and then you factor into that whatever the dead cap is and the void year stuff, and how much that takes off, and you're still left over with about $70 million in cap space, I would believe you when you say we're exhausting all avenues to try to win a championship. But as is right now, playing this game of, let's keep things reasonable, and we're not going to trade up because we don't want to be without picks the following year, and we don't want to find ourselves, like the Rams in 2 years where, we've got, massive contracts and we've got to bottom out because our salary cap can't take it. Like, then you're really not going all out. It's really not about a championship this coming season. If you're not willing to throw everything you have at it, then you aren't willing to say and mean that it's about a Super Bowl. It's not. It's not. It's not. And that's the last thing that I think I'm trying to leave everybody with in this particular episode. And I know I've kind of sounded negative the whole entire time, but I'm really just trying to expose as much of the truth as I possibly can. But this idea of it's about a championship. What's different now about anything that we've seen or heard that would lead us to believe that a championship is going to be closer or is closer as opposed to anything that we heard when Sean McDermott took over? Because since the day that Sean McDermott took over and the drought was broken, I'll put it like that, the drought was broken, we've heard nothing but we're going to keep kicking at the door. Who have we heard that from, though? We didn't hear that from Sean. We heard that from Beane. Beane's been we're just going to keep kicking at the door. We're just going to keep trying. We're going to keep giving it a shot, right? You want to talk about alignment? Alignment is, while Brandon Beane is saying we're going to keep kicking at the door, you got Sean McDermott in his press conference, his initial press conference, saying we're going to be a perennial contender, right? Even Brandon Beane has said it this season.
Don't forget when they took down the Super Bowl caliber banners
Right.
and replaced them with, what was it, playoff caliber?
Yeah, right. Like, you knew at that point it wasn't about a Super Bowl no more. Like, guys, we can't get away with that anymore. Nobody in here believes us when we look at that banner. Like, that's why you do that, because there's a realization inside the building. People might be fed up with this stuff, man. Take that down, man. Y'all ain't really doing what's necessary around here. Like, why even have that flyer up there? Like, I'm sure that sentiment has been spoken. We won't hear about it because they won't let that get out of the building. But that's why that kind of stuff gets taken down. They don't want the pressure of that hanging over them. They don't want to have to. The reason that Brandon Beane is saying what he's saying is so that he can continue to keep his job. What other franchise and what other fan base would be willing to put up with a GM that has only drafted two Pro Bowlers, or I'm sorry, 2 All-Pros in the last 56 picks? What other fan base would be willing to deal with that, and on top of that, no Super Bowl to show for it? What other fan base would be willing to put up with your franchise quarterback being one of the best, quite possibly of all time, and you not having a Super Bowl to show for it? For 9 years, this guy has been here. What do we have to show for it? Everybody that's sitting here talking about this right now, we've been putting up with it. We've been watching it. We've been listening to it. We've been complicit. Why have we been complicit? We've been complicit because we still buy tickets. We still go to games. I still took my children to the Kids Day game. We bought paraphernalia while we were there. I rocked the hats. I rocked the jerseys. I rocked the shirts. We are complicit because we are being told to be complicit. We are complicit because there is a level, and I remember having this conversation with Laura like a year ago or so. There's a level of programming that goes into marketing and PR. There's levels of language. Words have a certain etymology, right? And when I say etymology, like, words have a certain background, words have a certain origin, words have a certain way of triggering within us feelings and emotions and thoughts that lead us in a specific direction. The whole science behind marketing is how to tap into that stuff, how to tap into, it's called neuro-linguistic programming. It's NLP, it's what it is. It's a part of marketing. Go look it up. All of this stuff goes into how we are programmed as fans to think a certain way. That's why Everybody Eats was such a big deal. It went on shirts and all that kind of stuff. Why? Because you're using it as this cool slogan to get everybody involved so that they all feel connected. Hey, everybody eats, everybody eats, everybody eats, everybody eats. All right, everybody eat. Yeah, let's go. Everybody eating. So everybody feels connected. Meanwhile, what's happening on the back end? Nobody's thinking about what everybody eats actually means. We have no number one. Nobody's talking about that. How did we lose that? How did we miss that? We missed that because too busy saying everybody eats. To me, this is the flaw in the system. This is the glitch in the matrix. This is what we do on this show is supposed to be the quintessential birth of Neo, so that we can have the change necessary to flip the matrix on his head and have some actual change. Let's get a couple of comments in here before we get out. Breaking our hearts is a game to them. That's what kicking at the door means. It means never mind all the kids at home that are crying because Josh Allen couldn't get it done this year. Never mind all of them. We just gonna take a deep breath and we're gonna try it again next year. And guess what? If your son or your daughter is at home crying the next season, we're just gonna give it another shot the following season. That's what that means. That's exactly what that means. Tired of first things first hanging banners for us every week, every year, within the first month of the season. Right. Within the first month of the season. You know why? That's an acknowledgement that the Bills have not been acting or operating like a real NFL franchise for years now. For years now.
That's actually probably Nick's favorite banner every year is September Champs. Because he knows what's going to happen.
That's right.
Same story.
Yep. September happens, okay, 4-0, fine. But usually somewhere between weeks 5 and 6, we find out who the Bills really are. This year it was the Patriots that showed us. First game out of September. We got beat at home. Just saying. Jam, what's going on? Says Beane might go down as the worst GM in history if doesn't lock in. Yeah, I mean, there's been some bad ones. But I gotta say this too, because I meant to bring this up too on last week's show or Monday's show. Adafe Owosu-Mensah, if I'm saying his name right, the GM for the Vikings, gets fired for taking 2 weeks of paternity leave. I feel for the guy, but you took the job, so you should know what the expectation is. Don't take the job if you're going to try to prove that kind of a point. It doesn't fly in the NFL. For the Vikings, who have had a heartbreaking loss in the playoffs 2 years in a row. First year was, I'm sorry, they've had two heartbreaking losses in the playoffs in a span of 3 years. First time was against the Giants, led by Brian Daboll. And the second time was last 2024 when they had Sam Darnold, and he played terribly and they lost. This GM, I think, has only been there for what? Three years? Might have been there longer. You know what? That'll take too long to look up. But my point is, the Vikings, who have experienced similar heartbreak to the Bills in the playoffs, haven't really gotten that far, haven't gotten as far as the Bills have, decided that the guy who picked quite possibly one of the worst quarterback picks that they could have ever picked for a franchise that was well on its way to being a Super Bowl contender, and also subsequently let the one guy go who had them in a position to be great in the first place, in Sam Darnold, and not re-signing him.
Did you see the report, too?
What?
About Kevin O'Connell having a discussion with him?
With the GM?
Yeah.
No, what happened with that?
At the end of the season, he laid out his plan that they were going to let Sam Darnold walk, and they were going to trust 9. And Kevin O'Connell warned him, this is not going to work. We need another option. This will not work. And
wow.
They did it. And he was proved right, unfortunately.
Wow.
Kevin O'Connell knew going into the season that this was going to be a mess if they went with it.
And he
According
did it
to
anyway.
reports.
And he did it.
Obviously, someone can put that out there if they want to. But
So Mensa was a plant, basically. Mensa was a plant. I mean, basically, that's what we say. Mensa was a plant. Mensa became the GM there just to sabotage, just to bring them to the brink of maybe you'll have some success, and then break their hearts all at the last minute. That's why he did it. That's why he did it. Is this a super chat? Am I reading this right? It says $5 in the end.
yep,
here.
super chat.
Oh, let's
From
go.
J-Ham.
J-Ham 2020 says, if the NFL stays the same next season, it's going to be a gauntlet of a schedule. If they fail this offseason, we'll know by week 10. Watch. Bro, you couldn't be more right. I actually think it might be sooner than that, to be quite honest, because let me look at the teams we're playing. Let me see. Bills. Let me see here. All right, 2026 opponents. So at home we have Chiefs, Chargers, Bears, Lions, Ravens. Lions are they might be on their way down drastically. Like they went way down after losing Ben Johnson this past season. So I don't know if Jim Bob Cooter is gonna be the guy to like restore everything. They got some really good players on that offense, but they're losing some offensive linemen. I think one of their guys retired or something like that. But playing the Ravens here will be nice. But man, I do not want to see the Bears. I don't want to see that Chargers defense or their run game. They're going to be a much improved team, this coming off season. They got a lot of cap space, and they're going to go after receivers and stuff like that. They're going to find the best way possible to protect Herbert. And then you have to go to Green Bay. That's going to be a problem. You have to go to Minnesota. We should be okay to as long as they don't have a quarterback. You got to go to Houston again, which is always a problem. You got to go to Denver, which is going to be a problem. And then you got to go to the Rams. And if that team still has Stafford and they're able to keep those two receivers together, you're going to see a similar game to what you saw a couple of years ago where it's a shootout and we end up losing that one. I mean, depending on how all this plays out, you could be looking at a very tight schedule within the first 5 weeks. Within the first 5 weeks, the only break you're going to get is within your own division playing Miami and the Jets and the Raiders. That's it. Every other team that you will play this season, other than the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Raiders, were an over 500 team this past season. Every last one of them. The Lions missed the playoffs, didn't they? Dan?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so the Lions and the Ravens missed the playoffs. Every other team. So you got 5 teams on your schedule next season that didn't make the playoffs in a 17 game season.
If you could guarantee that the defense will be a step above what it's been the last few years, will you feel confident that we're at least getting a good playoff spot, possibly division?
If the Bills, I'll tell you what would have put this team over the top right now. If the Bills finally get a pass rush, this schedule will be very manageable. Because,
by the way, Houston's been our kryptonite whenever we go there.
Yep.
In every game we've played in that stadium that I can remember, we've never had a pass rush. And when we did have an opportunity, it was the Deshaun Watson moment.
That's it. That has always been the problem. The Bills have never had a pass rush. We could never get pressure. And when you play that way, it puts so much pressure on the offense to have to be perfect and not make mistakes. Why? Because you know your defense is not going to stop them. It's only going to try to contain them, which doesn't happen very well in the NFL. At some point, the dam's going to break. You know what I'm saying? So you can't, as an offense, that's got to be hell playing that way, knowing that every time you step on the field, you got to be perfect. Because if I turn this ball over or if we don't score here, and you wonder why Josh is not an idiot. Josh is not going out there on the field thinking, man, I just want to score for the sake of scoring. No. The reason he puts the Superman cape on and goes ape-ish is because he knows if I don't score the ball, that defense is going to give it up, and I'm going to be playing from behind real soon. So if I don't get it done now, I'm not going to have a chance to get it done comfortably. This is the best shot I got to get it done and keep us ahead so that we can play the style of football that works best for how we play. That's why he's playing like that.
No bones. I think that's kind of a bad take because technically they can lose more games than us, and if they beat us,
Okay.
And if they beat us, they can still clinch the division over us. And a lot of people are talking about New England's soft schedule, but no one wants to talk about how the Bills had almost the exact same schedule.
Just a difference of two teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to tell you to poo-poo on the Bills. That's our job. But again, we try to keep it objective here, and the real aspect of it is we played a first place schedule that was the 6th easiest in the entire NFL, and the Patriots played a 4th place schedule that, if I'm not mistaken, was harder than ours in terms of win percentage of teams that they played against. And teams that we lost to, they beat the Falcons. Don't lose to the Falcons.
The argument that you can make is sometimes in the matchups they had, there was more players that were out or things that happened in the timing of when they played certain teams. But then you could also try and play that game with the Bills because there was situations like when we played the Panthers, we faced Andy Dalton. They did not. They faced the healthy Panthers. So, I mean, there's arguments that can be made. I heard people arguing about this on WGR with Jeremy, and he shut it all down because because he was explaining that the schedules are so similar that these little minuscule differences.
Yeah. Okay.
We basically played the same schedule. It was very similar schedule. And so the argument that they played this cupcake schedule and next year it's going to be so much harder for them, it's going to be harder for us too.
Yeah, way harder for us because
and we still have to compete with them for the division. Let's not forget, we lost a game to them.
Yep. We lost a game to them with nothing but free agents that they signed onto their team, and a quarterback in the first year of that offense with a recovering Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins and a very young Keyshawn Boot.
J-Ham, they didn't play Joe Burrow, but they also had a really good outing from Flacco in that game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And when we played Joe Burrow, it was arguably his worst game of the year. He did not have a good game, and he was very upset with himself afterwards, which you don't see often. Usually he's upset that the defense let the team down. He felt like he lost that game.
Mm-hmm. But the other part of that, too, is weather.
Yeah.
I mean, I would much rather be. I'd much rather be the Ravens than and have a dominant defense that I'm just. I'll put it like this: I'd rather be the Texans and playing a dome with an extremely tough defense that destroys everybody than to be the Bills defense that depends on weather to stop good quarterbacks from beating my team. That's just me. Y'all can, and this is part of the reason why I hate this discussion over we like the weather. If it's hard for them, it's perfect for us, and blah, blah, blah. Like, Josh Allen can throw the football through whatever weather. You know what I mean? Like, Mahomes can throw the football through whatever weather. Like, at the end of the day, let's try to build a team that can go anywhere and win anywhere in whatever. Let's stop worrying about we need the cold in order for that to be one of the reasons we win the game. I hate that. I hate including weather in the discussion. Let's win the game because we were the better team, because we draft better, because we sign better, because we just are better. Like, that's why I want to win the games. I don't want to have to depend on what Joe Burrow had a bad game. First thought in my head when you were saying that was, well, I mean, the defense does play a part in that, but then I thought about it, I was like, man, that weather really stopped them from doing a whole lot too. I mean, it caused them to be in a position to just start throwing moon balls down the field and depend on pass interferences and 50-50 balls. And because they have the receivers they have, it's a good play for them. And they almost beat us with it. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for the turnovers, they probably win that game.
Don't forget your boy was playing with possibly multiple concussions.
Who? Oh, T. Higgins. Yeah. And he still destroyed us. He probably only seeing out of one eye, can't hear out of the other ear. Like, he's still catching the ball deep on everybody. It's crazy. Oh man, it's 7:35. We gotta get at it. All right. Couple more comments and we'll be out of here. Johnny, I wanted to answer this question. It says, if we went 6-11 next year, do you think Beane gets fired?
No way.
No. Nope.
Terry already laid that out.
Yeah. And realistically, this is why I had such an issue with keeping Brandon Beane on and the hiring of Joe Brady, because now it almost doesn't matter what Joe Brady does because, well, we got to give him a couple more years to see what his vision, looks like fully realized. And that's really how it is with any NFL coach. As much pressure as we want to put on Brady and say, like I've been saying, he's doomed and all that kind of stuff. Brandon Beane is the one in control of that. So, we can cry and claw and scream and say whatever we want. At the end of the day, Brandon Beane's not going to fire the guy that's supposed to be here to help him keep his job. So honestly, and this is the last thing I'll say, this is my last prediction going forward. And those of you can quote me on this if it doesn't come to pass or not, but I think this is the most likely outcome here is Brandon Beane is probably going to be here with Joe Brady for the next 5 years and the final 5 years of Josh's prime. And after that, if we still haven't made a Super Bowl or won one by then he'll be fired. And then at that point, it'll be about, well, we got to try to put as much as we can around Josh Allen to see if we can still get him across the finish line like John Elway. Let's put a great run game, great offense, and let's get some playmakers around. Let's play great defense, and let's see if we can go get one. The end of Peyton Manning's career, let's see if we can do something like that with Josh Allen. Let's see if we can get a guy in here that knows enough football to help Josh get over the hump. And everything literally that happens after Brandon Beane finally gets fired in 5 years is all going to be a fight against Father Time for us and for Josh Allen. And
by then you don't know if it's a Stafford situation too.
Exactly.
Detroit fans really wanted Stafford.
Yep.
They did not want to see him go, but the organization
definitely not for Jared Goff.
Right. But the organization chose what they thought was best for the future.
Yep. And to a degree, they were right. They were right. They had the offensive coordinator. They had the head coach. They were moving and shaking. They were doing that thing. But it's what happens when you don't have a real franchise quarterback. Matt Stafford was a real franchise quarterback, and they wasted his career. And it looks like the Bills, who have always been closely related to the Lions for a lot of reasons, are doing the same thing with Josh Allen, and we're letting them get away with it. All right. Johnny says, we all have a sour taste on the defense, but we need to see what Leonard going to do. Yeah. I mean, that's where the optimism lies. I'm going to stop using hope. That's where the optimism lies, is that, the Bills finally have a defense again that people need to be fearful of. And of course, if we can see that, there's reason to be positive and optimistic about it. But we'll get there when we get there. All right, we got to get to the music and we got to jump out of here. So here we go. Hopefully that's low enough. Hopefully that's not too loud. Hopefully everybody can still hear me over the music. Sorry for that big burst in your eardrums. I apologize. Okay, so here's what we need to do. How many likes do we have right now?
36. And by the way, I roll. That's a great take.
What did he say?
He said, does have a real franchise?
Reese T. They do. That was so on point, bro. That was, oh my gosh. I'm gonna have y'all do the reads from now on. I'm gonna keep about to lose it. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, please click that like button, y'all. Look, Reese T. What more can I say about the best tasting tea in town? If you have not tried this tea yet, what are you waiting for? It is online. It's barely in stores anymore. We've sold out everywhere as far as I know. There might be like a few bottles at maybe 1 or 2 stores in the area. So you can't even get it here anymore, right? And this thing ain't really gonna be lighting up back until it starts getting a little bit warmer when, drinking iced tea is a little bit more popular. So if you need to get yourself some now, the best way to do it is to just head to resweettea.com and get yourself a bottle, or get yourself a case if you don't want to be disappointed after only having one. Because I'm telling you, these bottles are like they're like Lay's potato chips. You can't have just one. So the link for the website is in the description of this video. Just go right down there, click that button, and that'll take you right to the website, and you can get yourself some of the best tasting tea in town. Aside from that, Hi Mike High Tech has been handling all of our computer bills, our IT issues, our tech repairs, all of that kind of stuff. If you are in need of any tech services of any kind, if you have questions, the best place you can go is himikehightech.com. Talk to my man Rich, and he will definitely put you onto the best options for whatever issue you're dealing with or whatever questions you have. All right. With that being said, thank you to everybody that tuned in. Keys will be back with us on Monday. And we'll be back with you live on Monday, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Hopefully we're talking about a good Patriots loss. I got the Seahawks blowing this one wide open. Nicky Manwari was reportedly today fine after the ankle injury, and people saw him limping at the hotel and all that kind of stuff. Turns out he's back. He's okay. Even if there's, some kind of pain or something like that, right before the game, they'll shoot him up and he's going to play. He's going to play. They're going to beat the Patriots. It's going to be a great day for me. So with that being said, go ahead and check us out when we're back with you on Monday, and we will see you then. This has been Post Podium Podcast, home of the All Truth, No Sodium takes, for our producer Smitty on the ones and twos.
And don't forget, if you need these notifications, make sure to hit that bell, make that thing
ring-a-ling-a-ling. Oh man, we getting it all going here. Without 40 here, I be losing my bearings, right? So, but we got through it. We did good. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. It's been the Post Podium Podcast, home of the All Truth, No Sodium takes. I've been your co-host Aramis. Y'all have a great night. Peace.